I read your homework assignment. I can't wait to talk to you about that because that was super fun. But we're going to start with grammar so we can get that out of the way. So go ahead and turn to page 61 in your grammar books. Whoops. That's not what I want to share. Page 61. And I'm going to forewarn you that the grammar lesson is intense. So here we go. It's going to be great.
It could be intense.
Right? I know some lessons are more intense than others, and I'm just forewarning you. This one took me a while to like wrap around in my own head. So here we go. This is going to be good. So we're talking about noun and pronoun functions. Okay. A noun, obviously, we know that names a person, place, thing, or idea. A pronoun replaces a noun in order to avoid repetition. We already know that part's easy. But both nouns and pronouns perform many functions or jobs in a sentence. This is where we're going to have to think outside of what we already know. And all of these different acronyms here, these labels, represent something that I'll explain to you. Let me write this down real quick. Okay, so the sentence example says, the king showed hospitality to the frog. Frederick, I am King Morton. So we've got a bunch of labels here, but more than just our noun and pronoun labels. So what I want to show you is how all of these fit in this sentence. So I'm just going to start by naming them. So SN, we know king as a noun, but an SN is called the subject noun. And then we have AV here, which is the action verb, because we also know that there are different types of verbs. This one's an action verb. The hospitality is the direct object. And then to the frog, that's the prepositional phrase, but the frog is the object of the preposition. And then we've got Frederick is the noun of direct address. We've talked about that one before. Whenever you have a speaking part and it addresses someone specifically, that's NDA, noun of direct address. I, we know as a pronoun, but this one is labeled SP because it's the subject pronoun. And then we've got am as the linking verb. Remember, verbs have linking and helping and action. So this one's the linking. And then we've got King Morton, which is the predicate noun. It's also a proper noun, but the PN stands for predicate noun. Okay, now we're going to go through. I'm going to have you guys actually put, because it helped me when I was going through this lesson. Next to subject, I want you to just put SN on your book here. And then underneath that, I want you to put SP. So it says here in week 1, you learned that a subject is a noun or pronoun that performs a verb action. It tells who or what the clause is about. What is the verb? So this is how you find the subject. You look for the verb first. Showed is the verb. That's the action verb. Who showed? The king. So we know that's the noun. King is the subject noun, SN. So go ahead and underline here, subject noun, because it is telling who the first clause is about. And then if you ask yourself, what is the verb in the second part of the sentence here is am. Who am is just kind of a quick way to ask yourself who is talking about. Well, it's I. I is the subject pronoun because it tells who the second clause is about. So now we're going to label things as SN and SP. And then, of course, we have the object of the preposition. So OP goes here. In week 1, you learned about the object of the preposition is a noun or pronoun at the end of the prepositional phrase. So here we've got preposition plus noun, no verb. That's the phrase. That's the prepositional phrase. So to the frog begins with a preposition, to, we know that, ends with a noun, frog. It has no verb in between. The noun frog is the object of the preposition. So go ahead and underline that there. And you can underline more of this if that helps you with your homework assignment as we go, because it is the noun at the end of the prepositional phrase. So the object of the preposition is at the end of the prepositional phrase. All right, noun of direct address, we already know this one, NDA, is a noun that directly addresses someone. It appears in a quoted sentence, just like I said earlier. The noun Frederick is the noun of direct address because it is the noun the king uses to directly address the frog. So the noun of direct address. The next two jobs are similar. Find both by asking subject verb what or subject verb whom. So we've got the direct object is DO. The direct object is a noun or pronoun that follows an action verb and answers the question what or whom. A direct object receives the verb's action. That means it completes the verb's meaning. So here, the king showed what? Up here at our example, the king showed what? Hospitality. The noun hospitality follows the action verb and functions as the direct object because hospitality tells what the king showed. Not what the king did, but what the king showed. Okay, and then we have the predicate noun, PN, is a noun or pronoun that follows a linking verb and answers the question what or whom. I'm going to circle here what or whom. And I'm going to circle it here too. Just because that kind of helps us remember what to ask when we're searching for these things. Okay, so the predicate noun renames the subject. The subject and the predicate noun are different names for the same person, place, thing, or idea. I am whom King Morton. The noun King Morton follows the linking verb and functions as a predicate noun because King Morton is another name for I. So right here at the example, I and King Morton obviously are the same. And so it is a predicate noun. And so down here, continue to mark everything as AV, action verb, LV, linking verb, or HV, helping verb. And then mark every subject noun, SN, subject pronoun, SP, object of the preposition, OP, noun of direct address, NDA, direct object, DO, predicate noun, PN, and appositive. And we're going to learn about what the appositive is on the next page. Any questions so far?
I have all the questions and no time to ask them.
Right? I know. This is one of those moments you just got to sit there and just kind of let it absorb as best you can. Because, yeah. And like I always tell you guys, this isn't the first time or the last time you'll be hearing this. So hopefully, by the time we get to the end of this book, you'll be like, ah, piece of cake. All right. Who, which? Well, we're familiar with that one for the most part. They're not going to mess with it too much, but they will a little bit just because they have to, because it's grammar and we have to mess with everything because we have to make it complicated. That's my understanding of grammar. All right. So in week 7, you learned that the who, which clause is a dependent clause that describes the noun it follows. A who, which clause is easy to recognize because it begins with who and which. You already used this in your writing, so you're familiar with that. But did you know it can be invisible? So you have to be a magician apparently here. So, okay, the example is easy because it's clear. King Morton ruled the land, which was an obscure kingdom. All right, the invisible who, which. It occurs when the who, which and the verb are removed from the clause and they become invisible, okay? King Morton ruled the land, an obscure kingdom. So you can see they crossed out who was, or I mean, which was, and that would have been the who, which clause beginning However, the sentence still makes sense and it is correct without it. It actually adds more style to the writing. And it's not as complicated as it sounds actually, but it might be a little complicated to identify, like in the grammar book. But as you're writing, and I know both of you, by the way, are really excellent at creative writing, which I know we're going to talk about it later, but both of your stories were super entertaining to me. And it seemed like it was pretty easy, but we'll talk about that later. But it seems like both of you are more on the creative, imaginative side of your brain. It seems that way. Okay, anyway, okay, if a who which clause contains a be verb, the who which and the be verb can be removed to form an invisible who which clause. Here we go. King Morton ruled the land, an obscure kingdom. And so we label it with APP, which stands for appositive. Okay. And appositive, APP, go ahead and put APP here, just so that when you're referring back to this page, which you will need to do this one and the one before to remind yourself how to label all these things. Okay. Is a noun sorry, let me start over. And appositive is a noun or noun phrase that renames the noun it follows. The noun and the appositive are different names for the same person, place, thing, or idea. Kingdom is another name for land. King Morton ruled the land, an obscure kingdom. So obviously that word kingdom is referring to that land. They're naming the same thing. Okay, and appositive often includes words that describe it. In the example, kingdom is the noun that functions as an appositive. An obscure kingdom is the appositive phrase. And then follow the same comma rules for the invisible who which clause or appositive phrase that you follow for the regular who which clause. So you place commas around it if it's non-essential. And that means, and you can put a little note here, does not, change meaning. Okay, that's what non-essential means. It does not change the meaning of the sentence. And then here, do not place a comma around the who which clause if it is essential, if it changes the meaning of the sentence. Okay, you don't need a comma for those. Now, mentally insert who or which and the be verb, place parentheses around the invisible who which clause, and write APP above the appositive. So that's how your trick, that's how you're going to identify it. You're going to put the words in there in your head and then see if that works. If it does, it's probably an invisible who which clause. So here I am King Morton, ruler of this land. So obviously ruler is referring to King Morton. It's another way to say that. So that becomes an appositive. Any questions so far? I know you have lots, but any that you want to let be on the outside of your body? No, okay. Run on. We know those, right? Those are the sentences that have too much in it. More than one main clause is too much. So it says, fix it, which is the name of this book, no longer tells you how to fix the run-on sentence. You must determine yourself if a run-on exists and how to eliminate it. If the passage contains two or more main clauses in one sentence, look for the run-on. Remember, there are 3 simple ways to fix a run-on. Place a period between the 2 main clauses. You can use a semicolon, or if it has a coordinating conjunction, use a comma in front of the coordinating conjunction. All right, so those we already know, but they're basically letting you know they're not going to tell you what kind of a run-on it is or where it is. You have to just figure it out on your own. So normally I just let you go from here, but I'm going to help you get started on the first practice page because of all of the new jobs of the noun and pronoun that we just learn. I'm going to give you a couple tricks on how to identify those so that your homework isn't as painful as it would be otherwise. Excuse me, I got to blow my nose really quick for some reason. I feel fine. I think it's just because it's cold. My nose is running. All right. Grant, go ahead and read the sentences to us, please.
Hopping behind her, the frog followed Dorinda to the elaborate dining hall. I appreciate your hospitality, sire. I'm Friedrich, the frog volunteered.
Good. Nice reading. Okay. And this is totally up your alley, Grant. This is your type of story. Anyway, we know that the vocabulary word is sire, and it's a respectful term of address to a man of rank or authority. So it's a proper way to address someone. And now looking under the market, I'm going to have you number these because doing them in a certain order is going to help you. So you're going to start with the prepositional phrases. So go ahead and mark that as 1. And then you're going to identify the main clauses 2, and then the subject verb pairs 3, and then the opener 4, and then the noun pronoun jobs. So let's do the noun pronoun jobs last, and that will help you identify them a little bit easier. So if we start with the prepositional phrases, we're pretty familiar with those. It starts with a preposition, ends with a noun. So Jasper, do you see a prepositional phrase in here? There's 2 of them. It's okay if you have to peek in the back of your book here at that list. Do you see any, Grant?
Do I see any noun?
No, prepositional phrases.
Oh,
So
the
look for we're starting there with prepositional phrases. Looking for the preposition.
I found one.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it behind her?
Yes, behind her. Good. Behind is a preposition, so that's the phrase. Her is a pronoun, so that works. And Grant, did you see the other one?
He followed Dorinda.
Followed
Is that it?
Dorinda? No, not followed. Look for 2 as a preposition.
Ah,
Okay, so what would that phrase be?
the elaborate dining hall.
Yes, because it ends on a noun here, so that is the phrase. Okay, so we got that. Now we need to identify the main clauses. And remember, the main clauses have a subject and verb pair, and they express a complete thought. So there's actually 4 within these sentences here. So I'm going to help you with this just so we can move a little bit faster on it. But the first one is the frog followed Dorinda to the elaborate dining hall.
I knew it would be that one.
Okay, you already knew that one. Good. And then I appreciate your hospitality is another one. And I'm Frederick, or Friedrich, however you say that. That is a short one, but it has the subject. The verb is am. I am, and then the subject is I, or Frederick. And then the frog volunteered. Okay, now that we've identified the main clauses, now we can look for the subject verb pairs within each. So let's go to Jasper. Look at this first main clause here. The frog followed Dorinda to the elaborate dining hall. What's the verb in that sentence, or that part of the sentence?
Followed.
Followed. And if you ask yourself, who followed? Who was it that followed?
Oh, the frog.
The frog. So the subject verb pair is frog followed. And then Grant, look at this next one. I appreciate your hospitality. What is the verb?
Appreciate.
Appreciate. And who appreciates?
I.
Good. We got that. Subject verb. next one, I'm Frederick. So this is a little weird, but what is the verb, Jasper, in that main clause?
It's am, right?
It's am, yeah. So we're just gonna put the V over the M part. And then who's am? Who's
I.
the subject? Yes, I am or I'm. So we got the subject verb right here. And then the last one, back to Grant, the frog volunteered. What's the verb?
Volunteered.
Volunteered. What's the subject? Who volunteered?
The frog.
Okay, so see how that's a lot easier. If we can break it down and look for those main clauses first, and then within each main clause, there's a subject verb pair. So that was a lot easier to identify those. Now we've got those out of the way. The opener, and I'm just going to tell you this one just for the sake of time, is actually a number 4 opener, and it's an ing opener because we have the ing for hopping. Okay, now what we've been waiting for, the noun and pronoun jobs. All right, this makes it a little bit easier after we've identified all these things, because now we can look for the nouns first and the pronouns, both the nouns and the pronouns. So I know that her is a pronoun, so I'm just going to put PR above that just to mark it for me. Okay, so PR, her is a pronoun, frog is the noun. We've got Dorinda is a noun. We've got Hall is a noun. I'm just labeling these for myself. This is how I learned how to make it easier to find their jobs, is to find them first. So I is the pronoun, PR, your, we're going to skip your. And then hospitality is a noun. Sire, noun. I is a pronoun with PR up here. Frederick is a noun. Frog is a noun. Volunteered is not a noun. That's a verb. All right, so see, I think this might help you guys if you just first go, okay, what are the nouns and pronouns? Now let's go back. What is the job of this first one, her? And then that's when you'll flip back to your other page on 61, where we have all of those little acronyms there, the little abbreviations for each. And I know that her is the object of the preposition, because remember, we already identified this as a prepositional phrase. So this is the object of the preposition. So it's actually labeled OP. Now, if you wrote this in pencil, I would erase PR just so that we just have one label for each word. Okay, if you wrote it in pen, sorry about that. I should have told you that ahead of time. You can just draw a line through it. So this is the object of that preposition. Now we move on to frog. And we know that the frog is also the subject. So we're going to call that a subject noun, right? Because we already got subject up there. So we're going to call this a subject noun. And then we move on to Dorinda. We know Dorinda is a noun, and it's the noun of a direct object. It's answering the question what or whom. And about let's see, the frog followed Dorinda to the elaborate dining hall. It follows an action verb. So followed is the action verb. Dorinda then becomes the direct object. So I'm going to take that off and put D-O. She becomes the direct object. All right. Moving on to Hall is our next noun. And that one is the object of the preposition again, because we have the prepositional phrase. It's within that, it's at the end. So it's now considered an object of the preposition. So that becomes OP. We've got I is a pronoun, and it's also the subject. We have both of those labeled here, so we can call this one the subject pronoun. So this one would be now labeled SP, the subject pronoun. All right, and then we have sire, we skipped hospitality. Okay, so hospitality. And you're going to be flipping back and forth like you usually do to figure these out, but it's also the direct object. Again, it's after the verb appreciate. My thing is moving. Okay, there we go. So this one becomes the direct object again, because it follows an action verb and it answers the question who or what. So appreciate what? Appreciate hospitality. So that becomes the direct object. And then we have sire. That is the noun of direct address, even though it's not at the beginning of what he says. It's at the end. I appreciate your hospitality, sire. So he's directing it right to the sire. So that would be noun of direct address is NDA. Moving on to I'm. That's again a subject. We've already labeled it as a subject and a pronoun. So that becomes labeled a subject pronoun, SP. Frederick. Frederick is a proper noun, but it's also the predicate noun. And if you look back on 61, it answers the question, what or whom we talked about already. So I'm who? I'm Frederick. So it's answering that question from the linking verb, I am who? I am Frederick. So this becomes the predicate. I'm sorry. Yes, the predicate noun. Predicate noun answers what or whom. Because you can say I and Frederick are the same person. I'm Frederick, same person. So the predicate noun. And then we have the frog. Here's an easier one because it's the subject and it's the noun. So it becomes the subject noun, SN. And that's it. So I kind of wanted to model that for you. I know. But the first thing, if you just like identify in this order, I think it'll make your life a little bit easier in your homework. And then the last thing you do is find out what their jobs are. After you've identified all the nouns and pronouns, then you go back and go, okay, what is this job? What is it doing in this sentence? And then you got to flip back and forth, just like I did from 61 to 62 and find that, okay? So at least you got some direction on how to complete this. I'm going to let you do this part later, and then of course, rewriting it later. So on that note, are you guys good? All right. So your homework will be to finish up this page 63 and then 64, 65, and 66. All right. Phew. You know, every time we survive a grammar lesson, I think we need to kind of like celebrate for a second. Like there is life after grammar. And I hope I'm not like subliminally ruining your grammar love or whatever.
Not that I had much of a passion for grammar to begin with.
But you know, if you decide to go on to college, I'm telling you, grammar keeps going. So I don't want you to hate it. Maybe just like a notch above despise would be acceptable. And I survived college. I even survived a grammar class in college. I'm not going to tell you what grade I got, but it was enough to graduate, and that's all that I needed. So, you know, sometimes it comes down to that. Let's just get the degree and not worry about being magna cum laude or whatever, all the fancy, you know, top of the class people. That wasn't me. I was like, I just want to pass, you know, I just want to make it.
P
So
is the only grade that matters, not A, B, C.
yes, I agree. And not everybody feels that way though. So I have family members, actually my husband's twin sister, their kids are like top of the class. Like, I don't even know how you get like a 4.5 or a 4.7. It's like, that shouldn't even be allowed. It's like 4.0. Okay, I get that. That's like straight A's, but how do you get above that? You know? And it just seems easy for them. And then they're also in band and they always get first chair. And it's like, wow, man, they're like prodigy children. So, but not everybody's cut out like that. I mean, my kids both tried college for one semester and hated it and was terrible at it. And they both decided it was better to go a career path. And I know Grant and I were talking about that. There is nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. If that's the path you go, if you do it to your fullest, that's really what matters, you know, to put your whole heart into it. And you don't have to walk around with some degree behind your name. You can totally thrive without that. And I don't know what your plans are yet, Jasper, but just so you know, you guys are going to be A-okay, however you choose to walk that out. All right. Okay. Where am I? Oh, yes. It's time to talk about your writing. Oh my goodness. Okay. You guys, both, I actually literally read them this morning at like 5:30 this morning, and both of you made me laugh out loud at 5:30 in the morning. That it never happens. I had my coffee, I had my blanket around me, and I'm reading your stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best. So I think it would be fun if you guys got to share that a little bit. Can you? Yeah. Okay, cool. So Grant, how about you just read yours to us? I made comments on there. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at those yet. Okay.
Yeah, I got them.
Okay,
It
cool.
was weird though, because I like remember going through the entire story multiple times looking for banned verbs, and then it's like I got them all, and then you're pointing them out. I'm like,
It's okay. Don't feel bad. Jasper had a bunch. So it's okay. It's still kind of
get it together, Jasper. No, I'm just kidding.
right. You guys both had a bunch, so it's okay. So what I'm going to do though is your homework assignment is going to be a little lighter, which I'm sure you're going to be happy about. That is just go through my comments and fix and tweak the little things that I'm asking you to fix, and then resubmit it for this next week. And then there's a little bit more that you'll do, basically just reading the articles for the next class. But anyway, just so you know, but I thought it'd be fun to share. So Grant, if you could just read yours. Remember, this was a rewrite, like reinvention of Tom Sawyer. We know the basic story from Tom Sawyer. And so basically you guys changed the characters, you changed the situation, but the theme was still there. So, okay, Grant.
Leon stepped through the smudged glass door and onto the cold linoleum of his convenience shop, looking left then right because of the eerie silence, only to survey freshly opened boxes of candy and other assorted goods stacked upon one another. Rick, where are you? Leon shouted. Suddenly, Rick leapt out from behind the candy rack and scared Leon half to death. Whoa, what are you doing, man? Asked Leon, holding his hand over his chest. Hey, boss, I'm just stocking shelves. Rick, who should have been working, sheepishly slunk back to the bullpen to continue stocking as Leon planted his face firmly into his hands with a sigh. No less than a year ago, Leon had inherited the gas station and store from his late Uncle Frank, who founded the company. And even with the time allotted, was unfortunately having trouble learning exactly how to run it because he had no prior experience in the service industry. Not to mention he was short on staff given the size of the town. Out of options, he hired his cousin Rick, assuming he would work for the time being. The time and again, Rick had proven himself to be unfit for even basic and menial work. He was clearly not the brightest tool in the shed, though he was a tool to Leon, or so Leon thought.
Oh, wait, you got muted all of a sudden.
Okay.
Last we heard was so Leon thought.
Or so Leon thought. On a day with almost no business, the store was filled but with two sounds, that of the hum of the small counter fan and Rick crackling the crinkly aluminum bags of the chips and candy he was stocking in great big shelves. Leon had his feet kicked up with a magazine when the shine of a fully stocked shelf caught his eye. And he was impressed to say the least, because Rick had shockingly done a better job than Leon ever could have. As Leon was inspecting Rick's work, Rick came around the corner with a mop in hand and told Leon he was going, that's a Van one, to
That's
mop the
okay.
floors. Leon, who was now invested in Rick's work, had sat back down at the counter and kept a watchful eye. Had he underestimated him? Leon, who hadn't dreamed it previously possible, perhaps had sold Rick a little short. As he paid more attention to Rick's mopping technique, the grimy floor soon sparkled because of Rick's apparently dazzling custodial talent. One thing Leon hated was being outshined, so he slid over to where Rick was with the intention to show him a thing or two about mopping. Hey there, sport. How's it going? Asked Leon. Fine, boss, stated Rick. Say, would you mind if I gave it a try? Oh, sorry, boss. I don't know if there's anyone in this whole town who can make it shine like I do. Leon began to slightly grind his teeth, then sighed because he was not going to be shown up by someone as lowly as Rick. Leon began to plan. Rick, who could almost hear Leon's gears grinding, was now counting down to the moment when victory was his. 3 seconds later, Leon offered to let Rick take the rest of the day off in exchange for letting him mop the floors. He'd sneakily tricked by someone below his station for what? Simply to validate his own skill and self-worth. Slick Rick had discovered a great law of human action and smiled as he sauntered out the door.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. So you forgot to tell us the title at the very beginning.
Slick Rick's sneaky trick.
Slick Rick's sneaky trick. Okay, so there's lots of things I like about this. You already know, but just I like how you started out with actually in the middle of a scene. You're introducing the characters in a kind of abstract way. And I like that. And then you go into the background. No less than a year ago, Leon had inherited, I'm reading it from the Google Classroom, but how you brought that in. So that was a lot of style you added right there. And then I didn't catch this morning at 5:30 in the morning, but I just now caught it as you were reading it. Your little, shoot, what is the name for that? What is the name? Okay, so what I'm thinking of is when you talk about the dazzling floor. Let me go back to that really quick.
The grimy floor soon sparkled because of Rick's
Sparkle, but then you said Leon hated he was being outshined. It was like a pun. Yeah. Outshined. And I was like, I didn't even catch that before. So that was clever. I just now, when you were reading that. So great job with that. It sounds like you had fun. Was it pretty easy for you to write that?
Well, it was easy once I started writing it, but I kept putting it off because I couldn't come up with a concept and characters. But once I had that, it really just kind of flowed.
Yeah.
Though it was like Tom Sawyer is, we've done all these other stories, Caesar and the Pirates, lots of stuff with pirates. And they're all like, rewritable in 3 paragraphs. But Tom Sawyer is like multiple pages, 18 paragraphs. And it's like, I want to just extend it so I can make this interesting to read.
Yes. And you did a great job. And I wondered how you came up with the idea. Because that probably was kind of hard. The concept was not bad, but having, like you said, figuring out where they are and what they're doing and all of that. So was there something, did it just dawn on you like, oh, they're at a convenience store or something, a gas station?
Well, I kind of put it in my head, like this would be easier to write. I could write, I knew I could write it very easily once I had the concept and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I couldn't write it until I came up with that stuff. So that's what I had to focus on first. So I just kind of wrote down like a little list, like the setting.
Oh, good. All right.
And then I just kind of like Wheel of Fortune, kind of spin it in my head, have a big wheel. Ding, ding, ding. It's like, oh, convenience shop, that might work because I had to correlate. I had to think of a job that would be similar in style of painting faces.
Yes, a boring
forever
job
to do it. It's like the same kind of work, like folding envelopes, or I thought, stocking shelves, that could make it a convenience shop.
Perfect. Yes, it's perfect. I love it. And then Jasper this is so great, Jasper, because it totally fits your personality. Jasper went with a whole ocean nautical, well, not nautical, more ocean theme. And I'm like, this is so you with fish and everything. I just loved it. So anyway, this is very entertaining too. So and I know you didn't get a title yet, but that's okay. So you'll work on that for this week, but let me pull yours up while you read it and I can there it is. Okay. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and read it to us.
One day, Clint the merman had to mow the seaweed in his front ocean. His father, who assigned this chore to him, said that he would not be allowed to go to the reefs with his friends till it's done. Clint was furious with the news and angrily swam over to the lawn. The lawn was huge because his father wanted to get some seahorses, so he needed a very large space for them to roam. He started on his electric eel-powered mower, which was the model of mowers, when he saw his friend Greg playing ball with a pufferfish. Clint looked at the mower, then at Greg, and back at the mower. He soon had a devious and glorious idea. Clint started whistling and acting like he was having a great time, and Greg, who saw this and was confused, swam over to Clint. He asked him why he was so happy mowing the lawn, and Clint told him that this would be good for him because it will give him some exercise. Also said that he will get to see the seahorses faster if he gets his job done quicker. Greg seemed intrigued with this idea. Clint kept hyping up this incredibly boring chore to Greg, and soon he wanted in. Clint agreed, but only at the price of Greg's pufferfish. Soon, more of Greg and Clint's friends swam by and saw this amazingly rare and jaw-dropping occasion, which was Greg and Clint having fun doing chores. Because they saw them having fun, they wanted to try and see how fun it would really be. Ned, who came over after hearing the news, thought he would trade his shark tooth to help work. In total, Clint gained many treasures that day because of how many of his friends showed up. Some of which include a pufferfish, a shark tooth, a broken record, a size 13 boot, a bucket, and some marbles. A very deep thought hit Clint at this moment. He realized that in order to make something desirable by anyone, it must be hard or difficult to obtain.
Nice. Yes. I loved it. Merman. Of course, immediately I thought of SpongeBob because I know
Yeah.
the merman, but I just loved that it was all this ocean theme. It was so perfect. I was like, oh my gosh,
Oh, the
this is so young
seaweed, I
for-
liked that actually.
mow the seaweed. Exactly. It was great. I love it. And then yeah, they were preparing for seahorses. So they wanted to clean up the place for the seahorses. Is great. And then the size 13 boot, it's perfect. So
I thought it was kind
Yeah.
of clever that they were playing.
wait, you muted again.
Oh,
Say that
sorry,
again.
I thought it was kind of clever how they were playing with like a puffer fish.
Yeah.
Because not only is that like, oh, an undersea or a ball, but that's also what
Yeah.
dolphins do.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I know. That was very clever. Yeah, it was clever, and how they collected these odds and ends, kind of like Tom Sawyer's, totally random stuff that they found in the ocean. So
That's how I thought of the
Fascinating.
things. I just thought of like every fishing montage in a show where they immediately get a shoe and then
Oh,
other
yeah.
random-
that was classic. Yes, it was classic. I love it. That was funny. So thank you for the good laugh at 5:30 this morning. That can't remember the last time I actually laughed at 5:30. So you guys kind of broke through a barrier with me. So was that pretty easy for you, Jasper? Was it, like Grant was saying, it was kind of hard to come up with the characters and stuff, but was it pretty easy for you?
Yeah, like as soon as I got the first sentence, everything else just started to go along with it, and then
Cool.
the whole thing.
It just kind of came to you as you were writing, and yeah. That's cool.
When I realized I was gonna have to text you kind of late at night, sorry for that, by the way.
That's
ask
all
you for an
right.
extension is because I got so swept up in my own storytelling that I realized I took up all 3 paragraphs without actually getting to like the exchange of goods for him getting to do his work.
Yeah.
But I can't cut this out. This is too good.
It's part of it. Yeah, it's part of the humor and everything. You got to have it in there. Yeah. And that was fine. That was totally fine. And if that ever, so it's going to come around again where we go back to creative writing. We're going to kind of shift this next week into more of academic writing, but it'll come back. So, and I love that because I can tell both of you, like I said, enjoy that. And I don't want to stifle that. So let's have fun with it. Why not? All right. So your part of your homework then is going to be, and Jasper, I would just want to check with you really quick. Do you know how to find my comments on your actual paper in the Google Classroom?
I think so. It's the yellow highlighted text, right?
It is. And then you should see next to it though. If you click on the yellow highlighted, do you see where I put a comment? I just want to make sure you know where they're at. Yeah, okay, good. So one thing you're going to really need to work on is your banned words. And it probably was something you forgot about, which is okay. Because like Grant said, it sounds like Grant, you wrote it and then you probably checked for all your dress ups, but then you looked for, because it's those banned words are like so easy to use because that's what we always use. So you'll have to go, I highlighted, I think all of them, but I might have missed some. So make sure you check all of them. But we want to stay away from see and saw and think and thought and all that list on your checklist.
It's
So
funny about the thought. I was laying in bed thinking she's gonna like, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. And then I thought solely on thought. I'm like, oh, well, still like to fix it now.
right.
That's the only one that actually came to me though. Is like, did I change that?
Well, it was hard because it's a saying, it's a little you know, so I don't know, try to come up with something else. See if you can come up. I bet you can
Oh
because
no, I can. I've got
Yeah.
the list.
but that is part of that saying. So he thought, I mean, that's how it goes. But yeah. So on page 53 in your binder is that checklist, Jasper, and that lists there because there's quite a few of them now. We keep building on the banned words. So make sure you check that list on page 53 as you go back and read and fix. So you guys can reply to my comments on your paper, but I don't want you to remove like mark it resolved because I do like to see the original, what the comments were. I know it's annoying because it's highlighted and all that, but that way I can go back and look at it. And then what you could do you guys know how to make a copy of your Google Doc?
Yes.
It's part of the file when you go to your Google Doc. If you select file and the drop down, there's a make a copy and you can name it like part 2 or put a 2 next to it or something. So that way, and I'm giving you the option, you can actually create a new copy and then make it clean without the highlights there so that the highlights are on this week's homework and the comments so that when you submit the new one, it's a clean one, or you can just work with the one you already have and leave the highlights. So I'm going to give you that option because I don't want to, I don't want that to stress you out. So if you need help with that, just let me know. I can walk you through how to do that. We are like super, super, super out of time. So all of my lesson plans that I had today are going to be for next week, but like I said earlier, we're going to move into now more of an academic type research style writing. So we're moving on to the next unit. If you look ahead though, in your binder, look at page 57 in your binder. The title is OUD and it's pronounced ood. So each one of these, so this is page 57, and if you keep your binder open, you'll see on 59, it's another article. These are all actual articles with facts, and a source text is what we call them. So basically, ambergris, I think is how you pronounce the second article, and then Hieracium, I think it's called, but we're going to talk about that more next week. But what I just need you to do as part of your homework is read these and have them in your head when you come to class next week. So basically, you're going to fix your Tom Sawyer remake, fix it, And then you're going to read these articles ahead of time for class. And then that's it as far as the writing part, because I want to give you plenty of time to do the grammar part this week too. And then we're going to get right into the next section or unit, which will be research, which is good for you guys, because I know in high school, that will be part of your assignment, usually sometimes even for like the Constitution or whatever history you're working on, is to write a research paper. So that'll be a good thing for you guys to learn to do. And it's cool. I really like this program because research paper is like right there next to grammar for me. It's like, ooh, research, and how do you know what to write and how do you know what information to use? And it's kind of a little bit of a source of stress to figure out how to do research. This program, I'm telling you, this book, this binder, I'm going to help you guys break it down where it's actually doable and maybe a little bit enjoyable to do research. So this is kind of old school because we're using paper, articles, but a lot of times you research online. You can apply what I'm going to teach you about research to online research, to whatever type of research you end up doing. Just a little preview of what's coming. So work on fixing your story of Tom Sawyer and then read these articles. I prefer that you read them either the night before. Well, I was going to say the morning of, but forget that because that means you'd have to get up like 4 a.m. So no, but you can read them the night before. So it's kind of fresh in your head and to be ready for class next week. Is that good? You guys good with that? Sweet. All right, then. Good luck to your guppy. We're going to keep waiting on that. And good luck to you, Grant, with all your applications and your practicing driving. You guys are awesome. I'll see you next week. Bye.